Happy Thursday, everyone. If you're thirsty, grab a Coke and let's rock and roll. Start by prayer. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. We pray for our family and friends that they're surrounded by guardian angels, always and forever. Amen. We pray for HTA, that we get back to school face to face, and for sure you graduate in the church and have a nice prom when you're at that stage, which is going to be a blink of an eye. Okay, so elimination is the algebraic way to solve systems, our fourth and final way, and then we won't have much left in the unit. We're going to start with the LCM, and remember, LCM means lowest common multiple, not factor. Okay, so if you look at B right here, between 6 and 4, what's the LCM? If you say 2, you're thinking of greatest common factor. This is LCM. Okay, so multiples are 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, or 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So just like for the GCF, the greatest common factor, it's kind of the opposite of what you think. You start with the lowest number. Well, the lowest common multiple, you start with the greatest number. Okay, so let's do a couple, and we go through the multiples. Okay, so A, oops, we're erasing. We're going to start with the greatest number. It's 5. So is 5 a multiple of 2? Nope. Then go to 10. Is 10 a multiple of 2? Yes. So the LCM is 10. You can make a 2 a 10 and a 5 a 10. Let's go to the greatest number here. 6. No, 6 is not a multiple of 4. 4, 8. 12 is. Okay, so you go to the next multiple of 6, which is 12. And 12 is a multiple of 4. So you can make this a 12 by multiplying by 2. You can make this a 12 by multiplying by 3. Go ahead and do the rest. Do C, D, E, F, G. And as we are... I'll give you 2 minutes. Start with the largest number. If you're not quite done, just pause until you're done. Otherwise, I've underlined the largest number. So we ask ourselves, is 9 a multiple of 3? 3, 6, 9. Yes, it is. And D is 9 LCM of 6. 6, 12. No. 9. So we go to the next multiple of 9, which is 18. And 18 is a multiple of both 9 and 6. Here, the LCM is 7, 14, 21, 28. Sorry, 28. Just do a little different color. Here the LCM is 12 because it's also a multiple of 2. And here the LCM is 8, 16, go all the way to 56 before you get a multiple of 7. Okay, so that skill is going to be important. Maybe not so much in G, but in D, we're going to want to make, we're going to have a 6x and a negative 9x or something like that. We're going to want to make one 18x and one negative 18x. And it's important to have different signs. So when you add 18x and negative 18x, they equal 0, and you eliminate one of the variables. Okay, so the process of elimination, you're either going to eliminate x or you're going to eliminate y. And then it's very much like substitution. Once you get it into one variable, either all x's or all y's, then you solve for x or y, and then you sub that answer into either equation to find the intersection point. So first, double star. We want to eliminate one of the variables. Second, double star. Get the numerical coefficients, that means the number parts, of x or y the same. Do whatever is easiest. Okay, so you need a negative 3x and a 3x, or you need a negative 5y and a 5y, or you need a negative x and a positive x. Get the signs of x or y the opposite so that you can add them and they cancel. Now you can have them the same and subtract them, but I never do that because that turns into, then you have to deal with double signs, and I just think it's an unnecessary risk. When you have, when you're subtracting 18x and negative 12x, the answer is actually 30 because it's subtract negative 12. I don't like worrying about that stuff, so if we just make them all the opposite signs, we can add every single time and we don't have to worry about those double signs. Okay, so you can probably tell that this is important, maybe even circle it. We're looking for the same numbers, different signs. Same numbers, different signs. Okay, let's do the first step. The first step is, in these questions, it says to solve the system. I just haven't written it down here, but solve the systems is the question of the unit. And for here, our first step, we're just doing the first step, okay? I'm probably never going to ask you just to do the first step, but you're going to have to do it to do every single question on elimination. This first part is the easiest one. So you could make the 2 and the 5's 10x and negative 10x, but that would be really silly because the y's are already the same numbers with different signs. So if you add these together, 3y subtract 3y cancel. And if you add those together, you also have to add 2x plus 5x together, sorry. And 1 plus 34, you add them together. And then you solve for x and sub it into either equation. But we're just doing the first step. Okay, go ahead and do B. If you see something that has the, and usually you won't, but sometimes they're already done for you, same numbers, different signs, and you can just add them. Usually you're going to have to create something with the same number, different signs. Okay, so do B. Sorry I didn't leave you an extra line on A and B, but oh well. Less photocopying is good too. Okay, so B, hopefully you notice that these x's are already the same sign, same number, different signs, so they cancel. 3x subtract 3x equals 0. Now you add the y's. Negative 7 plus 8 is 1y. And you add the number, negative 4 plus 5 is 1. In fact, you don't have to solve here. So it's already solved for. Now you just substitute into the other equation. Okay, so write those down. I'm going to clear this page just so we can concentrate on C, D, and E better. So pause it if you haven't written it down yet. Let's look at C now. Now this is a little harder, and doggone it, I didn't leave enough room either. Let me pause my thinking. Okay, I'm going to give you time to write down C in a notebook or a separate page of paper. So go find one. And I will write it down here. Okay, this is C. So what we're looking for is we're looking at the 2 and the 4 and finding the LCM of these numbers. Okay, so we can make what LCM of, start with the big number, 4 is 4. We have a 4. How do we make this a negative 4? That's the question we asked. We can also make this into 24y and negative 24y, but that'd be a waste of time because we'd have to multiply two equations, where in this one we just have to multiply the 2 by negative 2 to get negative 4. Okay? Now, if you did this, that's okay. It will still work, and I'll give you full marks. You just want to choose the easiest path, and you don't want to worry about too many negatives. But anyways, I'm going to choose 4 and negative 4 with the x's. But you have to look at both the x's and y's, because if you didn't look at the y's here, or sorry, in I guess in this one, like we're just completely wasting your time. Here the y's just cancel right off the bat. So always look at your x's and y's, see what's easier. That's why I have this here. Do whatever's easiest. And in this case, it's easier to multiply one of the equations by negative 2. Usually I choose the ones that have different signs already, but in this case you'd have to multiply the y's, both the equations, by something. In this case, you just have to multiply the top by negative 2. Now careful, you have to multiply every single term by negative 2, including the 12. So if your question doesn't work out, you probably forgot to do this. Okay, so star that and write down multiply each term. And I just like to write brackets around the whole equation and draw arrows, and usually I don't forget any. And then when you add this, remember this is just the first term, you're going to get 14y equals negative 28, and we're happy that that divides evenly. But we're just doing the first steps. You don't have to finish it. You'll just solve it, and we already did the substitution steps, very similar last steps. That was C. Let's try D together. So write down D on your own. I'll extend the page, but I'll let you look at C again if you wish. Let's go a different color. There's D. And D says negative 2x plus 7y equals VIN. 4x plus 2y equals 8. Okay, so this one's a little easier because you don't have to multiply by a negative. We try to avoid multiplying by negative if we can. Sometimes we can't avoid it. So we just have to be careful with the signs. In this case, again, we're looking at the x's. Okay, I can make this an LCM of 4 and negative 4. And I could make y's 14 and negative 14, but that'd be silly because not only would we have to multiply both numbers by a number to get 14, you'd also have to make one of them negative. Here, we're happy, we have a 4. All we have to do is make that into negative 4. So what do we multiply negative 2x by to get negative 4x? And that is correct. It's 2. If we multiply everything by 2, we're going to get a negative 4x, and we have a 4x, so we want to have the exact same numbers with different signs. But be careful, you have to multiply everything by 2, including the 20. It's kind of fun when you get the hang of it, and you will. It'll take you more than 2 questions though. And again, I'm happy because I can see 16y equals 48. And that divides perfectly, but we're not going to finish it. we're going to just do the first step. Okay, your turn. Do E, please. After you write that down, do E. And go ahead and pause it until you're done and unpause. So pause, 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 pause. Okay, so same number, different signs. And this one, if you went to negative 12 and positive 12, why did that change blue? That's odd, but I like it. You did something too hard. You should have went to negative 6 and then positive 6. Remember, there's a 1 here if there's no number. D means 1D. And we're going to multiply the top equation by 6. If you multiplied this by negative 4 and this by 3 to get, or this by, or doesn't matter where the negative is, to get negative 12 and 12 or 12 and negative 12, it will still work out. You're just doing more work, and you're also messing around with negative signs. And in this case, you don't have to, because you can just multiply the top by 6. Now, it's just a coincidence. It's not always multiply at the top by something. It's just happening that way for the last 3 questions. You can multiply the top or the bottom by 6, or whatever you need to, depending on the LCD. Okay, and then this one is 4C subtract 6D. So ding, 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 ding. You see we got exactly what we want. We've got the exact same number with different signs, which is what we circled. Same number, different signs. And when you add 18 plus 4 equals 22, and then we add these, 28 is negative 54, negative 44, that's what I said. And then that's going to be nice because you divide everything by 22. Sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Okay, let's write down F together. If you have any questions on the previous ones, please ask me to go to the chat room and or just speak up, and we'll answer your question, and a question probably a handful of other students have, so that would be great if you did that. Okay, let's go to F, and F, I'm going to actually go here. I'm going to rearrange F, but this was the original question right here, and it's kind of tricky to know, and I'm not planning, I might do this once at the most. But here xy, but this one, the bottom equation is yx. Okay, so you gotta make sure that you switch the terms here and then go to find the LCM of the x's and find the LCM of the y's. Okay, and this is the hardest one without the rearranging, where we have to change both equations to get either a negative 24x and 24x or a 12y and a negative 12y. Okay, sometimes you're going to have to multiply both equations, get the same numbers and different signs. So let's do that in F. I'm not going to write down what I just purpley boxed right here. So I'm going to start by rearranging the bottom equation right here. I'm going to put 3x plus 5y instead of 5y plus 3x. Okay? So you can do the same. Maybe just write down rearrange to remind you that this wasn't in order. Rearrange. And so, where's my f? There it is. I'll keep the top equation, 5x subtract 6y equals negative frosty. And I'll put, instead of 5y plus 3x, I'll put 3x plus 5y. Equals 3 touchdowns. Okay, now the process begins. I need to find the LCM of 3 and 5, which is 15. So I can make my x is 15 and negative 15. It doesn't matter which one you make negative. Or I can make these guys 30 and negative 30. 6, 12, 18. I need a multiple, 24, 30 is the multiple of 5. And there's argument here, but I think this is our better choice because they have different signs already. And I don't have to multiply by a negative. Even though it has a bigger number, that's where I'm going. It doesn't matter if you want to do this. You just make sure one is negative 15 and one is positive 15x. So when you add them, they cancel. Okay? But I'm going to stick with eliminating the y's because they already have opposite signs. Okay, what's going on there? There we go. So to make this negative 30 and 30y, again, we're just doing the first step. I'm going to multiply the top by 5. That will make that negative 30y. And the bottom by 6 to make this negative or positive 30y. Okay? And don't forget to multiply the 21 and the negative 8. So multiply the top by 5 and the bottom by 6. And now we have the same numbers, different signs. I'm worried about this 43x. Hopefully I have a 86, which I do, because that's 43 times 2. And again, this is just first step. But we have to know how to do the first step. First step is same numbers, different signs. Same numbers, different signs. Same numbers, different signs. Same numbers, different signs. So do G and think about the same numbers, different signs. Look at the X first. Look at the Y's as well. Whichever is easier, choose that. In this case, one's just slightly easier. Again, it doesn't matter. It's if you do the long way, I'll still mark it right. It's just going to be longer and more work. Okay, so go ahead and do G. And when you're done G, unpause. F and G are the longest ones where you have to multiply both equations by a number to get the same sign, same numbers, different signs on X or Y. Pause, pause. I'm going to wait till 22. Ready? So cool. Quad. Okay, that first step. Maybe blue and green match. Again, barely this is, that's supposed to be green, is easier than this. You can make this negative 12, positive 12. You can make this negative 30, positive 30. I'm not sure what's supposed to be green. I'm going to choose the negative 12 just because it's slightly smaller numbers. So how do I make the x's negative 12? I'm going to try to go green again. I'm going to multiply, there we go, the top by 4 to get that as negative 12. So now I need my x on the bottom to be positive 12, and I multiply everything by 3. Once we do that, everything should work. Just don't make any mistakes with numbers. It's easy to do, so just concentrate. Take a peek to make sure they make sense. Yep. And then I get 12x subtract 18y equals 18. Those cancel. I get 2y equals negative 6, and that's going to work out nicely for me. That is the first step to elimination. Good job. Okay, mayday. Just had a snowball fight. I said to my son, Knight, come here, I got some for you. And he came to the top of the stairs, and I pelted him with a snowball. I don't know if you've seen the snowballs that aren't made of snow, but they're a Bryant, actually. They're just some white fluffy stuff you get at the dollar store. And then he got it back, and he was firing back, and I thought I outsmarted him. As soon as he was about to throw, I was going to hide behind the wall in our rounded staircase. Instead, he went down the stairs. What a smart guy. And nailed me in the ribs. I think he cracked, maybe broke my 5th and 6th rib. I can barely talk, but that's okay. I'm tough. I'm an Olympic. I will move on. Okay, that's what kind of things go on when you have a 5-year-old. It's a blast. Next page, excuse me, is page 9, when we're going to do all the steps I do want to add something to this part, so write down on the top of page 9, solve and check. I won't ask you to do this a lot, but if I ask you to solve and check, don't forget you have to check. So we're going to solve and check Z and Y. Okay, so write down Z on a separate piece of paper. And when you have done that, we're ready to do all the steps. And Z is the easiest one, where you start with the same numbers, different signs already. So you have 2x, so solve and check, solve by elimination, and check. Okay, we're doing elimination right now, not substitution or graphing calculator. So 2x subtract 3y equals negative 19. And we're happy with this question. This question is usually would be a multiple choice question, I think, because it's the easiest one. But you can see we have the same numbers, different signs already. Just to consider the y's, you could make that 15 and negative 15 by multiplying the top by 5 and the bottom by 3. But why would we do that when we can just add them right away? And 2x subtract 2x cancel. Negative 3 plus 2 is 2y, sorry, plus 5. And when you add these together, you get 22. Now we're going to solve for y. You get y equals 11, and I think I know the answer. Then you're going to do what you did in substitution. Sub y equals 11 in either equation. What's the easiest one? I would say the bottom, just because it's got only one negative sign, but it does a big number, so I don't know. Either one is fine. You'll get the same answer. I'm going to stick with 41 here. And wherever I see a y, I'm going to put 11. So negative 2x plus 5 times 11. I'm happy with that because that gives me an even number once I subtract 55. So I subtract, so now it's an add or subtract first question. Before I get x by itself, I gotta get negative 2x by itself. I get negative 2x equals negative 14. And then I divide by negative 2, and it's like this Ukrainian math teacher I know always likes to give the answer 711. Good job. High five. Don't high five. You're not done. Don't forget, you're not done. So it sure feels like we're done. When you have a solve and check, it might be the best just to write down the word check at the end so you don't forget. And you might even forgot how to check. Let's discuss the process again. To check something, you substitute your answer, x equals 7 and y equals 11, into each equation. Come on now. Into each equation and see if the left-hand side equals the right-hand side. So I'm going to substitute it into this equation, and that's not good enough. I also have to substitute it in this equation. I'm going to scroll up. Just pause it if you need to write down purple. Otherwise, I'm just going to take the purple answer, 711, and sub it in. So 2 times purple. I don't know, I'm changing colors, but oh well. Subtract 3 times 11 equals negative 19. And we don't bring anything to the side here. We just calculate the left-hand side and calculate the right-hand side if there's anything to do, and see if left-hand side equals the right-hand side. If it does, that means that point is on both lines, which of course means it's the intersection point of both lines. So that does work. And now let's again solve, sub in for x and y. plus 5 times 11 equals 41. You get negative 14 plus 55 equals 41, and that equals 41. So left-hand side equals right-hand side. So we just checked. Okay, you don't want to solve and check and not check. You're going to lose 25% of your mark if you forget to check. And like I said, I'm not going to ask you to do 8 of them because obviously this is a lot of work if we solve and check it, but I'm going to have to ask you a couple. So cool. Okay, let's go back to this page. And your turn to write down y. And we're going to do one step at a time. Okay, for this y, write it down. I want you to do the first step. And then we'll wait. I'll do it, see how you did. And then we'll do the second step, and then I'll do it. And so write down y. And I'm going to create another blank here. And go ahead and solve this, and we're going to check it. So write down check at the end, so we don't forget. Solve and check this. This is y. Go ahead and do the first step, please. Of course, this first step is same numbers, different signs. Now let me just get you all on the same page. It's easy enough to make this 4x and negative 4x. If you want to, just multiply by negative 2. But it's slightly easier to make this negative 3y and positive 3y. You don't have to multiply by a negative, and then you get 2 negative times negatives over here. Okay, so let's just direct you. Let's eliminate the y's, even if you started with the x's. Let's eliminate the y's here so we can all see. If you eliminate the x's, you'll still be right if you didn't make a mistake, and I'll still mark it right. It's just slightly harder with multiplying by negative 2 as opposed to just positive 3. Okay, so I choose to make this negative 3y, which it is, and positive 3y, so I'm going to multiply the top by 3. And I like putting arrows so I don't forget to multiply the negative 2 by 3. If you chose to do 4x and negative 4x, you would multiply the bottom by negative 2. You'll still get the same answer, just in reverse order. And I'll mark it right. But here I don't have to multiply it by a negative, which is always safer. Okay, second step, go ahead. Okay, you might think the second step is just this, but I actually think the second step is solve for x now. So go ahead and, if you stay there, go ahead and solve for x. Again, how did we get 14x here? It's 12 plus 2. That's 14. How do we get negative 14 here? It's negative 6 plus negative 8 gives you negative 14. We're adding the x's, adding the y's, and adding the constants at the end on the right-hand side of the equation. Okay, next step is to divide by 14. Divide by 14, and x equals negative 1. Okay, go ahead and do the next step. I'm going to choose the top equation because there's one less negative sign. And wherever I see an x, I'm going to put -1. So 4 times x becomes 4 times -1. This is -4. And now I got to get y by itself by adding 4. Next step, I'll give you 10 seconds. Is to write the ordered pair to show me that you understand this is an intersection point of two lines. And then I didn't do what I asked you to do, but luckily I didn't forget. Now we have to check. So go ahead and check the answer. In both equations. Where x equals -1. Oh, it's with my y's today. And y equals +2. X equals -1 and y equals 2. Then calculate each side and see if the left-hand side equals the right-hand side. That's what LHS means, left-hand side. We win. Ding, 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 ding. Bravo. Okay, so let's solve and check. Pause if you need to write that down. Bravo. Elimination should be getting easier. First step, remember, is same numbers, different signs. And then once you find x equals 5 or y equals 2, then sub it into either equation to find the intersection point. So I'm going to let you do your own now. Full stop. Why did I say full stop? I don't know what that means. Okay, do x on the top of page 9. Full steps, that's what I meant to say, not full stop. That's so much, so far away from what I wanted to say. Full steps, solve this by elimination. Unpause when you're ready. Even though if you check it, you don't have to check this one, but you can check it in your head quickly to see if 1 and 2 works. Oh, it doesn't work. 4 plus 12 does not equal 8. So you can just do that quickly with your answer and make sure you're right and didn't make a sign mistake. Okay, so do X, solve by elimination, all of the steps, and unpause when you've done that. Good luck, my friends. Pause, 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 pause. 39, 39! Okay, last question before homework. Let's see, you have a 12x and a -12x for the 3 and the 4. And you can make it 30 and -30 for the y's. I'm going to go with 12x and -12x because it is a smaller number. And it's not much easier. You can multiply this by -3 to make this -12, or this by -4 to make it -12. It doesn't matter. I usually like starting with the top one as my negative. So if I multiply the top by -3, I get negative 12x up top. Now I need a positive 12x, so I might multiply the bottom by 4. And then I'm going to eliminate one of the variables. Bye-bye, x. Oops, I made a mistake here. Instead of putting negative 18x, I put positive 18x. That can happen. You're going to get something like 2x equals 63. It's not going to turn, it's probably going to be a fraction. If you get the answer 11/7 or 2/9, you probably made a mistake like that. So just take a quick check. Okay, luckily I noticed it as soon as I wrote it down, so I can write down subtract 18x. Oops. And get on with it. I get 12x plus 20y equals 32. And now I add these up, they equal 0. I add negative 18 plus 20 to y. I add these up, I get 8. Not too hard to solve that one. You get y equals 4, and you're pretty happy with that. Then you sub y equals 4, so we're going over here in either equation. I guess the bottom is really not. Both of them are pretty much equally difficult. Pretty much the same equation. I'm going to choose the bottom one. I probably should have chose the top one because most of you probably chose the top one. But it'll also show if you chose the top one that it doesn't matter which one you choose, you get the same answer. So y equals 4 goes there. So 5y equals 5 times 4. 3x plus 20 equals Frosty. Subtract 20, subtract 20. You get 3x equals negative 12. Divide by 3. X equals negative 4. And we get negative 4, 4. I don't know why you have your hand up for. I can't see you. But let's check it real quick. Does negative 4, 4. So does negative 16 plus 24 equal 8? Yes, it does. Does negative 12 plus 20 equal 8? Yes, it does. J-O, you don't even have to check that because I just did and I'm right. So mark it right. Ah! Okay, now it's time for a life lesson. Usually I like to tell funny stories, but I do also want to share some experience with you. This one is a tough subject. It's about drugs, and please listen to it. First of all, I fear it's even worse than when I started teaching now that cannabis is legal. My message before was just don't start smoking. I have never met any smoker who is happy that they started smoking. So please don't ever start. If you do smoke, you probably have heard every lecture and reason why you should stop. So I'm not going to go there, and that's a decision you're going to have to make. And again, I pray for you guys to have the courage to make difficult decisions. Well, I've prayed that for 20 years before you were born. However, if you are smoking, please tell your younger brothers and younger sisters and cousins and nieces and nephews never to start smoking. You should agree with that. And I guess now that marijuana is everywhere, tell them to never ever start, because like I said, I have not met one person who is happy that they started smoking or doing drugs. I am lucky. I've never been tempted to do drugs. I've never smoked. I've never done drugs and never even thought about it. Luckily, I have my sports, and that wouldn't make me a better athlete, that's for darn sure. I have a story in my family where drugs has actually killed somebody. and it's not the way you're thinking. It was not an overdose, which there's many of those stories as well. It's actually a story of someone who is getting clean for the second or third time. It's very difficult, but possible. And he was moving to the Maritimes. He had already been to BC, and actually, pretty special guy. He had a professional scuba diving license, and he was able to. He enjoyed it in BC, and came back to Saskatoon, and all the bad influences there again. However, he was going to the Maritimes and start his life over and say, be gone with the drugs and continue to, I think it's called professional scuba diving. I'm not, anyways, it's a certification where you can go very, very, very deep. And not everyone has it, that's for sure. Unfortunately, his friends that he had partied with his whole life and so forth, this he told them that he had just sold his car and he had, I don't know, $1,200 on him from the car, and he was moving to the Maritimes and couldn't wait to go. And his quotation friends heard this and wanted more drug money, and took his life. I'll save you the details. And of course, that's an extreme case, but one that still should make you think, especially if you ever want to think about starting drugs or smoking. Please don't. Okay, just make yourself the decision now that it's never ever worth the expense or the health risk or the life risk. And it's probably going to affect your success on a future job or anything else that you may want to achieve in your life. So please decide that now, not when you're drunk. Decide you'll never ever do it, and stick to your guns, and you'll be happy you did. There's my message, and I tell you this because I care about you, and I love you, and I hope you have all the success in the world, which I prayed for, again, probably 20 years before you were born, and I'll continue to pray until I go to heaven. Okay. I guess everything's a lighter note after that. This is what you're going to do. So we're done up to the heading solving system with fractions. And I should have moved that down from the homework. So you don't have to do this. We haven't done that at all. But I do want you to do some questions for homework on elimination. And these are the questions. Right where it says homework on the same page. I want you to do questions 1. So there's 2 questions there. 5. 2 questions there. Please underline check. Those are solve and check questions. And then 6. Okay, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions to do for the rest of the class. And that's on page 9. So 1, 5, 6 is homework. If you get stuck, you just don't know, not sure how you did, because you end up getting negative 12x equals 7. Let me know and I can try to work it out for you or with you, and I'll meet you in the chat room. But usually sign mistakes, or you forget to, if you're multiplying this by 3, you forget to multiply the number at the end by 3. Okay, good luck, my friends. You have that for homework, and God bless. Have an awesome day. Ha ha ha.